Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now, from the results of the poll, I guess most of you really want to see me do the Blood Bowl 7 league, so you got it. Now, in this video, while I will soon have the 12 teams running in the background, I will quickly go over the rules that I use in this Blood Bowl league, Blood Bowl 7's league. Some are custom, as there are a few additions and a few cuts as well. So here goes. Now, to start off, all teams will have the budget of 600,000 gold pieces to spend on their players and other stuff. Each player on the roster, which can be a maximum of 12 players, has 0 skills. None whatsoever. Now, with that said, this does not mean that they can't get any skills. They will just have to work for it. Now, I said no skills. There are a few exceptions, however. For instance, dwarves and orcs will have thick skull, and some undead will have regeneration. Werewolf also, for instance, will have its frenzy and its claws, and the witch elf will have frenzy. And that's basically because, in my opinion, I don't consider this much of an ability, more like a character trait sort of thing, if you know what I mean. But other than that, yeah, all players will have 0 skills to start off with. Now, how will they get these skills? Well, for each match a player is in, they gain 1 most valuable player point, a MVP. Now, they can use these to buy a skill later on. Now, if a player gets knocked out, even if they re-enter in the second half, they lose that point. If a player became player of the match, they gain 2 MVP points that match. Now, to buy a skill or get a skill, for instance, for a general skill, they have to spend 5 MVP points per player. To buy an agility, a passing, or a strength ability, it will cost them 7 MVP points. A player can't have more than 2 abilities in this first season. Also, the points for a second ability cost double, so to buy a second skill, it will cost you 10 MVP points for a general skill and 14 for an agility skill. Also, passing and strength, also 14 points. Now, also for a player to become a player of the match, you will need to score touchdowns or do match-altering actions like knock out a player, give a successful pass, or score a field goal. Now, speaking of field goals, a player can attempt a field goal from anywhere on the field, given it is within the length of the passing ruler, of course. Now, this is done exactly the same way as a pass, with the only difference is that you have to roll at least a 4 up and add the modifiers to it. A 6 is always a success, however. Now, a team, not a player, but a team can attempt a field goal only once per half. If you fail to score it, or if you score, it is automatically a turnover, just like with a touchdown. Only exception also to do with an extra field goal is with a free kick. If a foul has been committed against your team, that team can attempt a free kick. Note that it's not obligated to do so, however. If the ball is in a more favorable position for a team, they are not obligated to take a free kick and can choose to continue as normal. Now, for starting a match, let's get over to that section. To start a match, pre-match rolls. Now we're gonna first roll to see whether it's daytime or nighttime. And we're gonna roll a d6, and on a 1, a 2, and a 3, it is a daytime match. And with that, vampires, they get a -1 to their movement. Now, however, when you roll a 4, a 5, or a 6, it is nighttime, and vampires get a +1 on their movement. Now, as for weather, keeping it very basic, if you roll a 1, it is pouring rain, which means it is -1 to passing. On a 2 to 5, it's perfect weather conditions to play Blood Bowl. And on a 6, it's scorching heat, which also has a -1 to movement. Now, for the match itself, for the kickoff, I don't use a kickoff table. Now, what we also do is the kickoff, the ball will be kicked from the center dot by the kicking team, like in football or soccer, for those who call it that. You select a square in the opponent's half, place the ball, and then you roll a d8 and a d3. d8 for the direction and d3 for the number of square the ball will bounce. If the ball bounces out of the field, the player who is closest to where it bounced out of play will be handed the ball and is now the ball carrier. So that could be in your benefit, or that could also be in your downside. Let's say the mummy has the ball, that's never a good thing. A throw-in, for instance. You roll 2d6, one for the direction and one for the distance, and it's best to use different colored dice for this. That are, I think, about the most major custom rules that we used to play. Maybe a few more, but that is like, for instance, post-match with rival teams, and only for rival teams, that is. So, for instance, for a rival team match, you roll a d6 after the match, and on a 1, the fans trash your stadium, and you will lose about 1d16 gold pieces. So that's worth of damage. And this amount that you lose, you can't spend it on your next match. 2 to 5, a small skirmish breaks out outside of the stadium, but there are no impacts to you whatsoever. On a 6, both teams roll a d6. The loser can now roll on his d16, and the result is that the player of the roll gets ambushed by fans and has to miss the next match. If the result of the d16 is no player, as you only have 12, then everything is okay. Now, important, earnings, winnings, gold and money. For earnings, an away team on a win gets 5,000 gold pieces. The home team on a win gets 2,500 gold pieces. An away team on a loss gets 500 gold pieces. The home team on a loss gets 1,000 gold pieces. When you draw, both teams get 1,000 gold pieces. And this can be spent to further flesh out your roster with apothecaries, assistant coaches, or bribe the referee, or pay damage to your stadium. Speaking of, for instance, an assistant coach, this will give your team 1 reroll, and an apothecary will keep a killed player from dying. Those are the rules that we use them for. Now, for referee, for instance, you can bribe these pre-match, and if you pay 50,000 gold pieces, then when you commit a foul, the referee will completely ignore it. 40,000 gold pieces, if the opponent commits a foul, the referee will automatically ban that player for the rest of the match with a red card. Now, 30,000 gold pieces, if an opponent passes the square to where the referee is standing, the referee will trip that player, and that player will fall. It can be dodged or blocked, and it will cause a turnover and the ball will bounce. Now, but as I said, this is completely optional, of course, and there are also biased referees. So some referees, depending on the race that you roll, will favor their own kind. And that's about it, really. The rest will be explained during the matches. So yeah, I hope this is not a match, but I hope this will be a little bit of informative to you guys. So I hope you will enjoy the league.